Picture this. In a little more than 3 years, the average price of a used electric car in the United Kingdom has crashed by almost one half. Let that truly sink in. Families planning for a cleaner future, small businesses striving for sustainability, and even ambitious fleet operators who embraced electric vehicles with optimism are now staring at a market where their vehicles are worth just a fraction of what they originally paid. This is not some quirky blip or minor statistical anomaly. This is a seismic shock that reverberates through the entire journey toward cleaner transportation. But what is really happening beneath the surface? Why is this drop so dramatic? And what does it mean for the future of electric mobility? Not just for car owners, but for commuters, businesses, and taxpayers across Britain. Today, we will dive deep into why used electric vehicles are losing value at an unprecedented rate, what this signals for the much-hyped electric revolution, and whether decisive government action can prevent a green transport nightmare from unfolding. Let us begin by revisiting the promise of the electric vehicle revolution. Electric vehicles, or EVs, were hailed as the technology that would transform our cities into cleaner, quieter, and less polluted spaces. They were envisioned as a key weapon in the fight against climate change, a pathway to reduce our dependence on imported oil, and a spark for new industries and skilled jobs. Over recent years, the sales of new electric vehicles in the United Kingdom have surged, thanks to a cocktail of government incentives, bold corporate commitments, and a sea change in public attitudes about pollution and the environment. The launch of new models from both established car giants and innovative startups has been nothing short of remarkable. Yet here lies the twist. While new electric vehicles grab headlines and feature in glossy adverts, the true battle for mainstream adoption is being fought in the used car market. Consider this. The used car market in the United Kingdom is almost 4 times larger than the new car market. For every new car sold, 4 used vehicles change hands. If electric vehicles are to become the norm for everyday families, lower-income households, and small businesses, the second-hand market is where the real transformation must occur. Without a robust, thriving used EV sector, the electric revolution risks stalling before it ever truly gets rolling. Despite all the hype and heavy investment, cracks are appearing in the dream. Even as the government recently pledged over £1.4 billion to support the uptake of electric vehicles, including vans and heavy goods vehicles, the used EV market remains fragile, even precarious. Toby Poston, chief executive of the British Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, puts it succinctly. Maintaining healthy demand and values for second-hand electric vehicles is essential if we want to deliver a sustained transition. The link between the new and used markets is critical. Let us break down the numbers for a clearer picture. Since the year 2021, the average price of a used electric vehicle in the United Kingdom has fallen by an astonishing 46%. That is nearly half its value wiped away in just a handful of years. By comparison, used petrol and diesel cars, those traditional internal combustion engine models, have seen their prices fall by only 19% in the same period. This gulf is glaring. For car owners, this means watching their investment with beather at a pace rarely seen in automotive history. For leasing companies and fleet operators, it means hundreds of millions of pounds erased from their balance sheets. And for the government, which has pinned so much of its climate agenda on electrifying transport, it is a red flag waving frantically. So what is driving this collapse? Why are used electric vehicles, which should be in demand as more people want to go green, losing their value so quickly? Experts point to a perfect storm of factors. First and foremost, technology in the EV world is evolving at a dizzying pace. Every year brings new models with longer battery ranges, faster charging capabilities, and advanced features that make last year's car look outdated. This phenomenon is not unlike the early days of smartphones. Remember how last year's model suddenly felt obsolete the moment a newer, sleeker version hit the shelves? Now imagine that feeling attached to a purchase as costly and significant as a car. Second, there is widespread anxiety around battery health and longevity. Unlike petrol or diesel vehicles, where the lifespan and performance of the engine are well understood, the battery in a used electric vehicle remains a black box for many prospective buyers. Myths and half-truths abound. Will the battery lose capacity rapidly? Will it need an expensive replacement after only a few years? Will the car's range plummet, leaving drivers stranded? In reality, many EVs are proving to be more resilient than skeptics imagined. However, the lack of transparent, standardized battery health checks leaves potential buyers guessing, and that uncertainty, in turn, drives down demand and prices. Gil Noel from Electrex emphasizes this point, saying, Education is paramount to dispel these myths and build trust in the used EV market. But the challenges do not stop there. The used EV market, unlike the mature petrol and diesel sector, still lacks the support infrastructure to reassure buyers. There are only a handful of certified battery assessment programs, and most dealers are still climbing the learning curve when it comes to evaluating, pricing, and marketing electric cars. This uncertainty snowballs, leading to lower demand and even steeper price drops, a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. Social and economic factors compound these problems. Without targeted government incentives for used EVs, the price gap between electric and traditional cars remains daunting, especially for lower-income households. Ben Nelms from New Automotive underscores this. Without government incentives to bridge the price gap, demand for used EVs, especially among lower-income households, will stall. The stakes could hardly be higher. If the used EV market collapses, it threatens the entire ecosystem. Low residual values make it riskier and more expensive to buy new EVs because leasing companies and banks rely on a strong resale market to offer affordable financing. This triggers a domino effect: higher costs, fewer buyers, slower adoption. Mike Hawes, chief executive of the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, warns, long-term incentives are crucial to encourage private consumer demand and keep the United Kingdom at the forefront of EV adoption. And the impact reaches far beyond the auto industry. The failure of the used EV market could put Britain's broader climate ambitions in jeopardy. Transportation is one of the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions, and switching to zero-emission vehicles is a cornerstone of local and national strategies to hit net zero targets. If consumers lose faith in the used EV market, the pace of decarbonization slows dramatically, and the United Kingdom risks missing its environmental goals by years, perhaps even decades. Meanwhile, the industry itself is raising the alarm. More than 30 major organizations, including carmakers, insurers, vehicle remarketers, fleet operators, and charging companies, have formed an unprecedented coalition. They delivered an open letter to the government, urging that the recently promised £1.4 billion must not only support new vehicles, but also be directed at shoring up the used market. These companies argue that supporting used EVs is the most cost-effective way to accelerate adoption and deliver real benefits to society. By making electric cars more affordable and accessible, especially for families and small businesses, the government can unlock enormous social, economic, and environmental gains. If the government fails to act or moves too slowly, the consequences could be dire. Imagine a scenario where demand for used electric cars plunges even further. Residual values collapse, and owners struggle to sell or trade in their vehicles. Leasing and finance companies, burned by mounting losses, might tighten lending standards or hike up monthly payments, making it even harder for buyers to afford new electric cars. The entire momentum of EV adoption could grind to a halt. In this grim scenario, Britain's climate ambitions could be postponed by not just years, but potentially an entire generation. But it does not have to end this way. If the United Kingdom seizes this moment and channels the £1.4 billion into targeted, intelligent interventions, it could set a global benchmark for how to manage the transition. Imagine a future in which every used electric vehicle comes with a government-backed battery health certificate, giving buyers genuine confidence in their purchase. Picture grants and subsidies specifically for used EV buyers, making electric cars truly affordable for families and small businesses who need them most. Envision a network of certified dealers and mechanics trained to assess, repair, and support electric cars, everything from compact city runabouts to delivery vans and family SUVs. This is not just a theoretical vision. Other countries are already blazing this trail. In France, for example, the government offers a conversion premium to help people switch from petrol or diesel vehicles to electric, making it financially attractive to upgrade or trade in old cars. Germany takes it a step further, providing subsidies not only for shiny new EVs, but also for used ones. The results are clear. More people are buying used electric vehicles, and the market is stabilizing. If the United Kingdom acts decisively, it could leapfrog its European neighbors and become a leader in building a circular, sustainable electric car ecosystem. The path forward is clear. First, the government must introduce direct grants or low-interest loans for used electric vehicle buyers, especially targeting those households and small businesses that stand to benefit most. Second, there must be significant investment in transparent, standardized battery health checks so that every buyer knows exactly what they are getting. No more guesswork, no more hidden surprises. Third, public information campaigns and educational programs are essential to clear up outdated myths and misconceptions about electric cars. Gil Noel highlights this once again. Education is paramount to dispel these myths and build trust in the used EV market. But that is not the entire answer. Industry leaders, like Quentin Wilson of Faircharge, are calling for a reduction in value-added tax on public charging, arguing that this simple change could make electric driving more affordable and accessible, especially for those who do not have access to home charging. Tanya Sinclair of ChargePoint stresses that interoperability between charging networks is crucial. Drivers must be able to charge anywhere, without hassle or hidden fees. Robust infrastructure, after all, is the backbone of the entire electric transition. The government can also play a pivotal role by investing in skills and training for mechanics, dealers, and technicians. As the automotive landscape transforms, new jobs and career paths are emerging, but only if the workforce is ready to support and maintain the next generation of vehicles. Richard Bartlett from EY puts it plainly. Collaboration between government and industry is not optional. It is the only way forward. Let us take a closer look at some international examples. In Norway, a country often hailed as the global leader in EV adoption, government incentives have been critical, not just for new cars but for used EVs as well. The result? Used electric vehicles in Norway hold their value better, buyers are more confident, and the country continues to outpace much larger economies in EV market share. In the Netherlands, a similar story unfolds. Coordinated incentives, a robust charging network, and public education have ensured that electric mobility is not just a luxury for the wealthy, but an option for all. Back in the United Kingdom, what can you do as a consumer, business owner, or concerned citizen? If you are considering your next vehicle, take a serious look at the growing world of used electric vehicles. Ask dealers for battery health reports, compare different models, and check for any available government grants or incentives. Do not be swayed by outdated myths. Many electric vehicles are proving to be more reliable and cheaper to run than their petrol or diesel counterparts. If you have concerns or ideas, reach out to your local member of parliament and advocate for fair, inclusive policies that support the entire electric vehicle ecosystem. Let us widen the lens and consider the broader implications. The future of the used electric vehicle market in the United Kingdom could unfold along several paths. With bold, strategic action, the market could become a powerhouse of growth, driving down emissions, creating thousands of new jobs, and making clean mobility accessible to every corner of the country. Infrastructure could keep pace, with rapid chargers in every town and standardized battery checks as routine as an MOT test. The United Kingdom could become a leader in battery recycling and circular economy initiatives, turning old batteries into new resources and minimizing the environmental impact of the EV transition. Alternatively, if the government misses this crucial window for action, the market could stagnate. Inadequate charging infrastructure could leave drivers frustrated and stranded. Confidence in electric vehicles could erode, and adoption rates could plateau. The nation's ambitious climate targets could slip further out of reach, undermining Britain's credibility at home and abroad. But the lessons from France, Germany, Norway, and other pioneers are clear. With the right mix of incentives, education, and infrastructure, the United Kingdom has every opportunity to get this right. The scale of the opportunity is massive. Remember, the used car market is almost 4 times larger than the new car market. Unlocking the full potential of used electric vehicles would deliver a climate impact greater than almost any single transport policy in recent memory. Let us also not forget the human side of this story. For many households, the decision to buy an electric car goes beyond environmental concern. What is about saving money on fuel, accessing cleaner air for their children, and participating in a technological revolution? For small businesses, especially those that rely on delivery fleets or service vehicles, the total cost of ownership is critical. Targeted incentives and clear, reliable information can make the difference between hesitation and action. We should also recognize the ripple effects across the wider economy. A thriving used EV market means more affordable mobility for all, reduced urban pollution, and the creation of green jobs in manufacturing, maintenance, and recycling. It strengthens Britain's energy security by reducing reliance on imported oil, and positions the country as a leader in the fast-growing global electric vehicle industry. The benefits are not just environmental. They are economic, social, and strategic. As we stand at this crossroads, the question is stark. Will Westminster seize the opportunity to lead, Or will it stand by as other nations race ahead? The answer will shape not only the fate of Britain's auto industry, but its climate legacy for generations to come. Here is a striking fact. Solving the used EV crisis could unleash the largest wave of emissions reductions from the transport sector in a generation. It is not just a matter of cars. It is about jobs, air quality, energy security, and the kind of future we want to build for our children and grandchildren. If you found this analysis illuminating, please tap like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more in-depth insights on global economics and technology. What do you think should be the government's top priority in supporting the electric vehicle revolution? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for our next deep